Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and tonight we'll be discussing my favorite Twilight Zone episodes from Season 2. And I will say this one, I will keep it as spoiler-free as absolutely possible if you haven't seen the show. And number 5 on the list is The Howling Man, which first aired on November 4th, 1960. Directed by Douglas Hayes, The Howling Man tells the story of a man who gets lost in a storm. He ends up at a castle turned monastery where he asks for help. Once inside, he discovers that the monks have a man held prisoner. A man the monks claim is actually the devil himself. If I had a nickel. In general, my favorite Twilight Zone episodes are the ones with a mystery element. And that is what this one boils down to. Is the man actually the devil? Or have the monks gotten into the bad gruel again? The Howling Man stars H.M. Wynett as the aforementioned weary traveler. He was also a villain in the Elvis film It Happened at the World's Fair. Then there is Robin Hughes, who gives an outstanding performance as the titular Howling Man. You may recognize him from The Mole People or The Thing That Couldn't Die. And then finally, we see the great John Carradine as Brother Jerome. Now, this one was written by sci-fi author Charles Beaumont, who would not only write nearly 20 episodes of The Twilight Zone, but was also responsible for the 1963 Vincent Price classic The Haunted Palace. In Beaumont's original vision, he saw the monks keeping the Howling Man imprisoned with a cross, but the producers of the show feared backlash for some reason and changed it to the Staff of Truth. And number 4 on the list is the Odyssey of Flight 33, which originally aired on February 24th, 1961. Directed by Justice Addis, who also directed episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and Lost in Space, Odyssey of Flight 33 is kind of a tough one to sum up without spoilers. But the basic story is about a commercial airliner that accidentally travels back in time. How they got there and how they're going to get back kind of makes up the meat of the story. It's intriguing, it's tense, and it's very well acted. The entirety of the episode takes place within the plane, mostly in the cockpit, but there is never a dull moment. The cast, as mentioned, is quite good, but it's also a little large, so I won't delve too deeply into it. But I did want to highlight Paul Comey, who plays the first officer. He had a long TV career, which included 3 episodes of The Twilight Zone, as well as an appearance on the Star Trek episode Balance of Terror. Now, this episode was written by Rod Serling himself, and in order to get the cockpit terminology correct, he went to his brother, who was an aviation writer. And it's been said that the dialogue in this is some of the most authentic cockpit terminology ever put on screen. And this one, in a way, ties into the episode titled 22, where the main character is going to board Flight 22. In Odyssey of Flight 33, the characters end up 22 years in the past and are told to land on runway 22 by traffic control. And because of a certain special effect shot in this one, which I won't say because it could be spoilery, this was actually the most expensive Twilight Zone episode to date. And number 3 on the list is Penny for Your Thoughts, which originally aired on February 3rd, 1961. Directed by James Sheldon, a prolific television director, and it tells the story of an insecure and good-natured bank clerk who develops the ability to read people's thoughts, and he just happens to overhear a plot to rob the bank. Starring Dick York, my personal favorite Darren Stevens, this is a good little episode that breaks up the nobody wins kind of feel that many of the episodes feature. It was written by George Clayton Johnson, who not only wrote many episodes of the series, but was also the co-writer of the original Logan's Run novel and the Star Trek episode The Man Trap. Interestingly, there are quite a few connections to Bewitched here. This was one of 2 consecutive episodes to star Bewitched cast members. The previous episode, The Invaders, starred Agnes Moorehead, who played Endora. And then Dick York's boss on this episode, Dan Tobin, also appeared on Bewitched multiple times, just as different characters. And finally, Elizabeth Montgomery, Sam herself, also starred on that episode entitled 2, alongside Charles Bronson. So the takeaway here, Charles Bronson was clearly a witch. And on that, we should take a break of some sort.
The Twilight Zone has been brought to you by the new Polaroid 10-second automatic camera. Only 3 buttons to push. 1, 2, 3. And in just 10 seconds, a finished picture.
The action men from Bonanza. The Cartwrights, the greatest Western toys ever. Little Joe, fastest left-handed draw in the West. Ben, the toughest pioneer who ever rode the plains. And Hoss, always ready for a good fight. You can even get the Outlaw, the meanest desperado you ever saw.
Watch out! He's getting away! Hit him, Hoss! Pow! You got him!
And you can get the trailblazing 4-in-1 Bonanza wagon. Each Cartwright comes complete with over a dozen accessories. Each horse has action hooves. You can buy Little Joe's Pinto, Hoss's Stallion, and Ben's big buckskin. The action men from Bonanza will put you right in the Wild West. By American character, the hottest brand around.
And number 2 on the list is Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up, which originally aired on May 26, 1961. Directed by Montgomery Pittman and written by Rod Serling once again, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up tells the story of 2 police officers who believe that an alien is hiding among a group of bus passengers who have been snowed in at a roadside diner. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I was referring to the episodes with a mystery element. Nearly the entire episode is spent trying to determine who, if anyone, is a Martian. Not even the audience knows until the very end. And this is another one with a large cast, all worthy of mention, but I wanted to highlight character actor Jack Elam, a very distinct looking gentleman who you may remember as one of the gunslingers sent after Charles Bronson in Once Upon a Time in the West. But he did numerous westerns as well as Cannonball Run 1 and 2. Originally the episode was titled The Night of the Big Rain. Then that was changed to Nobody Here But Us Martians, before ending on Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up. At one point in the episode, the aforementioned Jack Elam would mention famed writer Ray Bradbury by name. Bradbury would write the season 3 episode, I Sing the Body Electric. Remember that. This really is one of the finest episodes of the series, and it may not go where you think it's going to go. Unless you're a Martian, then it's going to go exactly where you think it's going to go. And number 1 on the list is Nick of Time, which originally aired on November 18th, 1960. Directed by Richard Baer, who directed 7 episodes of The Twilight Zone, including the classic To Serve Man, Nick of Time tells the story of a newlywed couple who break down in a small town. To pass the time, whilst the repairs are being done, they go to a diner. And at this diner, they see the grooviest looking fortune-telling machine ever captured on film. And for just a penny, they can ask it yes or no questions. And that's all I'm going to say about that. This is my favorite episode of the entire series and a real high water mark for anthology storytelling. It stars the great William Shatner, probably best known for Airplane 2, the sequel, as our new husband. And as his new bride, we have Patricia Breslin, who appeared in 2 different William Castle films, Homicidal and I Saw What You Did. This one was written by famed sci-fi writer Richard Matheson, who also wrote I Am Legend and the short story Duel that would go on to be made into the film of the same name, which is easily Steven Spielberg's most underrated film. Now, Matheson also wanted Patricia Breslin to play William Shatner's wife in the episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is another of the most famous episodes, but she was unavailable at the time. It makes me wonder if it had gone in that direction, would they have ended up playing the same characters? And remember way back when I mentioned I Sing the Body Electric? This episode seemingly takes place on the same street, and both featured a person almost getting run over. And this is the episode that if a person was only going to watch one episode of The Twilight Zone, this would be the one I would recommend. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, and keep it wacky.